Welcome to Far Out with Faust. I'm Faust Chicho, and I am sitting here with Lin Fisher. Lin's going to tell you all about himself in a moment, but first I want to ask you, could you please hit the like button and the subscribe button that's standing right there? Right, you know where it is. Anyway, we appreciate that. Thank you so much. Lin, without any further ado, tell them what's up. Thanks for beaming in, everybody.
Oh, it's really good to be with you, man. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, definitely. Always got to check in. I've actually been headlong into watching your videos, and I just love what you're doing right now. And stoked to be on your show.
Thanks, Lin. I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Definitely.
I've been here reading and hearing about what you've been doing too, man, and I'm so excited to talk to you about it.
Perfect. Well, this is a great opportunity for us to actually go a little deeper than we've gone before. So I think just as a quick, bit of background on me, I've, spent, I guess, the last 30 plus years working in big business, corporate consulting, chief strategy officer, chief marketing officer. So I've done my tour of duty in the white collar crowd, and partnered up with Tony Robbins on a company, and worked with him for about a year and had access to everything he was doing. And I became transformed. He was a huge reason why I'm where I'm at and how I see, a good bit of the world. But it worked so well that I was like, I've got to leave, and I'm not sparking on all cylinders. So I sold everything, went on a 2.5-year journey around the world. Sold a couple houses, all the toys, all the material items, and got really light and just shed the old self and started honoring the artist. And that led me to this holistic journey, which was about consciousness and what I'm putting in my body, and how do I create a high vibrational life, and what's my lifestyle like that puts me into a category, just comparing to myself, that's progressively getting higher vibrational, cleaner. I still like to have fun. I'm not like a, I'm not like.
That's right. You're a burner, right? Fellow burner.
Yes, sir. I'm giving you a big pie head right now, man.
Oh, thanks, brother. I appreciate that.
Definitely. That culture transformed my life as well. That was a huge one. Interesting to bring that up, but the humanity and the ultimate experiment of humanity in that bubble is what I'm fascinated by.
I love it. Yeah, it's something else.
A lot of people go, yeah, it's the best party on the planet, but honestly, it's the most interesting, diverse set of people doing things in a very, very carefree bubble that's, very, very expressive and artistic. So, yes.
That reminds me of I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, I know you do I saw some really phenomenal images when I was checking out your stuff, and I understand, you are the first metaphysical surrealist I've ever met in my life who has an art and a practice. So, how did you end up working in that way with your art?
Yeah.
And tell everyone what it is too, because I didn't do a good job explaining.
Yeah, no worries. Appreciate it. So as far as I know, and I've done the research, talked to a bunch of people, I created this lane of art called Metaphysical Surrealism, and I didn't go, hey, this is what I want to create. It was more like, this is the body of my work, and my friends and people that enjoyed my my art would tell me different things, because my inspirations are, Dali and, Android Jones and, Alex Gray and a ton of other, just really, prolific thinkers and, expressors and people that can, blend the weird and, make something, beautiful out of it. So yeah, I've been playing with Photoshop and my art is digital. It's composite digital. It comprises of I'm a photographer, and so a lot of my photography, a lot of my my vector art and other art that I create, and images that I find that I want to bring into this master blend, which kind of is really what I do. DJs, they, sometimes make their music, but most of the time they're playing other people's music, and they're blend masters, right? They're blending this into an experience that is something that you're vibing with, right? And so that's what I do. Is I'm a visual blend master, and my art is very layered. It's very detailed. It has a lot of meaning in it. It has a lot of sacred geometry. Just
What's your favorite piece that you created?
Oh man, that's like asking. What is your favorite, man? Like, which one is your favorite, bro? No, but I, actually, like, almost like I have some faves, but really every new piece that I birth is my favorite at the moment, because I try to express in my queerness, show up, that's my meditative, one of my meditative practices.
Oh, cool, man.
Art, to be in that space where I'm hopefully channeling source energy, and just allowing these pieces to come together, and that's for me is where I like to create hidden meaning, and for people that are, it's like people that make music. You can listen to it in the car and while you're driving down the road, or you can listen to it with headphones sitting on the couch with your eyes closed.
Right.
You can hear every detail, right? So I like giving, rewards to people that are into it enough to actually dig into it and blow it up and play with it. But,
cool, man. I'm excited to showcase some of those for the people who will be watching the video as well as listening. We're going to show a few of your art pieces, if that's cool with you, because they're pretty awesome. Sure. Yeah, sure. Very, very cool, man.
And so the other thing that, just to tag on to, I think we were talking about this earlier, is I've been using my art as part of my kind of therapeutic process, and it's when practitioners who do some line of therapy, there's a much more, I think, there's a much more significant process that we go through than just saying, hey, this is here, put this blinky hat on and lay down this bed that's vibrating, and I'll check in with you in 20 minutes. It's, for me, because I've done so much work with ayahuasca, and that's
my next question was going to be go ahead.
And so because I have a very deep appreciation for shamans who guide and lead properly, they first have to create the container, and then they have to manage and work you through the container, and always are connected with you, and part of that process is talking before the ceremony, doing a proper intake, and sharing, and making sure that everybody's on the same sheet of music. And so doing these things before, when I provide the service, is to actually check in and have a conversation, and usually in those moments, both on what the person wants to get out of it, and then also what I see and what I help them, anchor into their experience. Because again, you're very, very pliable in this moment. You, again, put yourself, this is close to self-hypnosis, but you can do the work of self-hypnosis in this state, and it's really easy. So the point is that doing the work in the sense is really what we want, and anchoring the right the right thinking and the right visualization to help people get to their outcome is really powerful. So
intention, right? I mean, it cannot be underestimated in everything that you do. The intention that you do it with, is one of the, it's the same thing as this affirmation we make when we say I am, right? It is, your intention creates your experience, and it's just so important. I think we underestimate. I know I catch myself underestimating. I'm like, you should have been a little clearer with your intention. After the fact, it's easy to say that, but it's a very powerful thing to keep in mind. Is set a strong intention, and then let it go, and then see what happens.
Yeah, the idea here's another way I like to say that: manifest with precision. If you don't, then you're building probably most likely a sloppy house, or a house that's like, imagine if you can't really envision what the outcome is. You don't have plans, you don't have blueprints, but you're building a house, 4 walls, a roof, this, that, and the other. You know how to build that. But the reality is, you take a step back from that person's life and that person's house that they're building. Someone who actually has set, regular intentions, pivoting on those intentions as needed, being sensitive to new things, and like having a plan. I'm pretty sure those two houses, 9 out of 10 times, are going to be, radically different.
Yeah.
So manifesting with precision is important if you are going to learn, how your how the electromagnetism that you possess, which creates attraction and which creates emotion and energy into the universe. All of those things produce your flow, right? Flow state is another actually thing that in working with some athletes and other people that are high performance people, flow state is really, really important, because and I guess what a lot of people consider as flow state, or maybe I should just define what I mean by flow state.
Sure, go ahead.
Is that place where, as you move through life and as you are experiencing people and things, challenges, opportunities, that your certainty is driven by the fact that you have you're flowing with this energy that you are both creating and enjoying.
Mm-hmm.
So the energy that you create for yourself is the energy that you and the energy that you enjoy is created by source and spirit, and there's an energy that we create between each other. That to know that you know what it feels like to be like, oh man, everything is just flowing. Like all the green lights today. I got everything just clicked, and it's not a fluke. You end up actually manifesting that.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about the process of those good days where even if you've got bad things happening, those things are surmountable. So the point is how do you recreate that emotional path towards flow state?
Like, I think everyone has been in a flow state, whether you realize it or not. It's like, if you ever played a sport, athlete, one of the famous ways to describe a flow state with an athlete is, especially basketball, is like, oh man, he was in the zone, he just couldn't miss. He could not miss. The dude could just walk down the court and he just throw wherever he shot that ball from. It went right in, and it was effortless, and it was magical. Like, that's a flow state. Like, so if they had a skull map on this dude who on Michael Jordan on one of his days, you would see his whole brain lit up, because what's going on is he's taking in more information because he's opened up his consciousness, so that he's playing, but he's seeing everything. He's not focused on any one thing, but his brain is like, it's communicating with itself, both hemispheres. And he's literally taking in more information about his environment than he would if he was like writing the answer to an algebra equation on a piece of paper, right? That's a flow state. And it can be the most remarkable experience when you find yourself in one.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's also, we have a common friend, Hunter Richards, who basically he shared this with me, and I found out later on that I took it completely wrong. But Maharishi said, do less, accomplish more; do nothing, accomplish everything. And I pretty much got that backwards from what I think it was originally intended. But the way I took it was is that doing less and accomplishing more is about applying wisdom and also extrasensory perception to what you don't have to really focus on and what you really, really need to focus on. And and it's not that this isn't important, but how important is it right now in the present? because as you start to slide your pieces between the past and the future, we lose our sense of presence in the present moment, and not having, and if we spend too much time thinking or planning or grinding on a future potentiality when we don't need to worry about that at that moment, we do less and accomplish way more because we have more time, we have more energy, we have more power to be creative, we have more access to seeing what's happening in the field and picking our moments, choosing what, being open. You can't, if you're like constantly grinding this one thing that you don't need to be grinding on, and you can actually lift your head up and go, cool, grind, cool. You can see stuff. You can't see stuff if you're just down here thinking that this is the rabbit hole you want to be just going down.
No, you really can't, man. And I tell people all the time, like, you're putting the cart before the horse. I'm like, you're literally doing that. You don't understand what I'm saying when I say this, but if you would stop like efforting in the physical, in 3D, and just get your mind right and get your intention clear, you're going to get out of your own way in a way that you've never experienced before. But it's hard to understand that when you haven't experienced it, and a lot of people are just starting to realize what that means, and they're putting the keyboard away and the pen and paper down and the books to the side, and they're realizing that if they can get present with themselves and clear about what it is they want in their life, they're starting to see the correlation between it showing up, whether they're doing all this work or not. I mean, that was my experience as well. It took me.
Yeah, when you get right with yourself, you end up, creating more alignment that creates more electricity. If you can, again, remember that having high vibration, being able to conduct more electricity means that you can actually attract more things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the vibrant energy. When somebody walks in the room, you're like, wow, that person just, the whole room lights up, and it seems like it just, they're not, yelling, or they just walk in the room. It's because that the energy that they have is a life force energy that they've cultivated one way or the other. And that's the presence that, that I think we're all attracted to. But, the other end of the comment was, do nothing, accomplish everything. And so, for me, the way I translated that was, especially in context to the first part, which is, do less, accomplish more, is that when you do nothing and accomplish everything is when you are actually letting spirit and source, when you actually, if you're in a, like I always say this metaphor, throw up your sail, every single sail you have, take your hand off the wheel, pull up the rudder, and just let the wind carry you where you need to be. And if you're right with yourself and you are, you have the right intentions, your flow state will carry you into the rapids that are supposed to be there for you. And being right with yourself and right with everyone else in kind of a unity coexistence, stance where, I'm really thinking about how you see me. Mm-hmm. Not from a selfish, like, does he think I'm smarter? It's more like,
right, not from a self-conscious.
It's like how I just said that. How does he really feel about that? Like, how do you feel about that? So, how that coexistence is where humanity gets out of this dualistic, very death-focused concentration of bullshit, right? Because death is the grand master illusion of all time.
It is. I remember seeing my mom, I think it was the first time in 6 months in June, and she just broke down in tears in the driveway, and I heard her say to my wife when they were hugging, she said, "I thought I would never see you again." That's the kind of...
Yeah, that's the mental stress.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's what's going on. Imagine, around the country, around the world to a great extent. That's terrible. That's terrible.
So this is what the world puts on us, is this low vibratory, experience, and we, sometimes we, cling to it, or it clings to us, too much. And to be honest with you, it's very much the reason why, we created the Cocoon Experience, because being able to offload your nervous system. When every part of your body is vibrating and is synchronized, like I said, between light, music, and frequency, the body feels at one. And you ride motorcycles? You ever ridden a motorcycle?
I've ridden bikes and I've ridden scooters and I've driven a motorcycle, but I've never got into it too.
Okay, so anything that vibrates like a scooter or like a moped or a motorcycle, like if you've driven it for like a half hour longer, you get off and you kind of feel like you're like, oh, this vibration, and you feel like one because you've been vibrating as one. And if you change that to, rather than mechanical vibration, to frequency-driven vibration, which is using frequencies and tones that resonate in the body in all humans. There's certain tones that just feel good because we're like a violin or any string instrument. When music goes through us, we have either this perfect resonance, which is harmonistic, or we're moving to the next note that is, right? It just doesn't feel as good. And, oh my goodness, that feels great. So, the Cocoon is made up of two different technologies, which I'm really, really thankful for and I'm proud to be partnered with, which is BrainTap. And
BrainTap.
Yeah, and Dr. Porter's been on your show, or Dr. Porter.
Yeah, if you guys if you want to check out Dr. Porter and the podcast we did about BrainTap, which is a phenomenal app. I have a friend who's been using it, and it's been really helping him change his life. Fantastic. Check it out. It's one of our earlier episodes. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. So basically, BrainTap is a headset, and actually, it's right here.
Yeah, grab that Star Trek looking thing.
So this is BrainTap, and what you'll notice is that there's these LED lights, and it uses blue light strobe, which in and of itself, over the last 15 years, is its own technology, which means that it's been proven to do really great things like reduce neuroplaque, which is the buildup of from your diet, buildup of different things that can cause the synapses to not fire strongly, and actually just even not using that part of the brain or not doing something there. So this actually is really incredible. And then if you can see here, we have these are red and blue LED strobes.
Yeah, the earmuffs. Yeah.
Yeah, those are on the ears, and the reason why is because our nervous system is really close to the top of the dermis in our ears. So the whole point of this modality is to synchronize your visual cortex and using also through your audible cortex, using like modalities like binaural beats, 10-cycle holographic music, isochronic tones. All of these things work to create brain entrainment, which simply means that this headset does something and it's interesting to the brain because it's like, whoa, that's interesting. And once the brain's interested, we move that target again and it goes, oh, wait, where'd you go? Oh, okay, here. And all of a sudden the brain is now flowing with us down into or up into the brainwave states that we want to hold or focus on. And so that's why it's so powerful. It's not just for going really, really deep into like theta delta, but also actually doing the work up in alpha and gamma. And so,
just for our listeners, when you are settling your body down, if you're getting into a meditation and you are trying to quiet that part of your mind that is like, oh, you forgot to do this and you forgot to do that. The part of your mind that is can be a constant nag for many people. This is what he's talking about is a way to put a device on your head and do what meditation practitioners have become very, very good at, and fluid at, and expedient at. This allows you to get there quicker because it's a biohack. It's a biohack. It's a consciousness hack. It's technology at its finest because you really just, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's not a shortcut. It's just a faster way for you to get into the right state to then meditate and really begin to make the changes that you want to see first inside and then outside. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Lin.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that, as you look at what meditation does and how you get there, it's, again, remember that plate that you were talking about, more or less, some people call it the monkey mind. Mm-hmm. I call it the restless wandering, mind. And as such, that's the part that we struggle with. There's several hurdles to get to this empty awareness state and to be able to hold that state. And then what most people don't know is that there's a whole body of work. Once you're able to hold that state, that's like it's like being able to hold your first stance in any type of martial art.
Right.
Once you're there, then you can do the work, which is, being at your highest creative self, while you're in a deep theta delta, which is super creation, super learning, manifesting, setting love, working out problems and issues, really working with yourself. Mm-hmm. So at the point of
changing habits, manifesting events, manifesting abundance, whatever it is,
Exactly. And so as you find this space, what people some people don't really realize, and I work to help coach them, as even people that own the Cocoon. I remind people that, okay, this is not just a visual feel-good journey. Once you've reached this point and you've done it enough times, there's a space that's created now that you can go do that work. Mm-hmm. So that's where you can take a lot of your one, to decompress, and then to be able to see self. Go into self and go into, the corners that you want to go into. And it's, it's much as I've had some of my best ideas, doing some of these therapies, because I'm so there and I don't have to worry about getting there, that I'm able to do the work. And so, I think that's a big thing for people, especially people that have been meditating for a really long time. They're like, man, I can get in pretty quick, but like this I could just drop in. And then I don't have to, worry about it. Because it's not always just being empty and quiet. This is the space to start, creating and working.
That's right. And that's because when and then you can correct me if my understanding of it doesn't match yours, but, as you drop, people try to change with this, they make a conscious decision to change. And, when you do that, that's great. You decide, I'm going to quit smoking. I'm not going to do it. And then you go 2 days strong, and that third day you turn around and all of a sudden you got the cigarette in your hand and you're like, fuck, when did that happen? That's because
this narrative is so foreign to me, Faust.
You're looking at the cigarette and you're like, I was doing so good. What happened? Well, what happened was your body was like, go back to sleep, dude. We got this. We've been doing the same thing for 25 years now. Okay. You think you're just going to take over? It doesn't work like that. And it's the same thing with, the things that are in our life are a product of our thoughts and feelings. That's what I believe. That's what I know. And, there are materialists and people who maybe they don't believe that, but I think eventually science is going to catch up with what the sages have been saying for as long as we've been here. And that is that we create our reality with our thoughts and feelings. And so when you get into these brainwave states that Lin is talking about, you can begin to make suggestions, you can begin to plant ideas, you can begin to change the way that you are creating the physical things in your life. And that is a true, that's a life hack, right? Because all of a sudden now, whereas it may have taken you 5 years of struggling to quit smoking, you're going to cut that time. And I'm just using that as an example, like any thinking, any habit, you're going to really Because you're going to change the programming. You're going to get down there and change the software. And when you're in a theta state, it's a very suggestible state. You can really start to change, the same way it works in hypnosis. Isn't that right, Lin?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. You can actually self-hypnotize with a few techniques. And, if you have, either of these or both of the modalities, the cocoon, these practices are pretty easy in terms of the effort to get to, like I said, that place where you're going to anchor it deepest. You're going to hold it, closer to your heart. It's just going to mean more, all those things that emotionally, you use to anchor into your daily life. So, it's like meditation. I just was thinking about this and made me laugh. Meditation is like Inception, the movie Inception, on the self. So like you incept your own self in the third dimension, right? By planting these seeds and exploring options. And this is also where, like, if I'm blessed with, as we all are, actually having a lot of guides around me all the time. And I'm not claiming I connect with them directly at all times.
You can claim that on this podcast.
No, I'm like it's a matter of flow state for me. And when I do medicines or it's I have the greatest honor and respect for those family members. But meditation is where you can get into getting guidance, and when you're in those spaces, these deep spaces, that space is you. It's not a trip. It's a projection of you through your consciousness. And if you work to open your third eye, or work to look more through your third eye chakra, and some people like to directly stimulate DMT. Ayahuasca based on has a driving component of DMT, radically different, of course, but. But these are, so a lot of people that actually experience the cocoon have a liftoff in their body where they're astral planing, going into the astral, and they lose their body. And I say lose, they just forget that their body is there, because when the vibration from this bed, from the vibroacoustic bed from In Harmony, the Sound Lounge, which has 4 beautiful, powerful transducers that are in a really comfortable, curved, ergonomic bed. You just feel enveloped, like you sink into the bed. But when the vibration is going, everything's just vibrating at the same rate, and it's all these tonalities and all these tones that your body just naturally has to and lights up over. So getting rid of the day's energy. You have a high stress job. You got kids, challenging during COVID. Being able to offload your energy and your nervous system throughout the day, or at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day, or all three.
Throughout the day, depending on who.
We get out of our game because the matrix, the third dimension, pulls us into what it is that we're focused on, third dimension. Yeah. So in those moments, if we're getting stress from those things, then we need to counterbalance that with some good metaphysical conscious work, or just a really great experience that just feels.
Yeah. I would. It just reminded me when you said that, the fact that your Cocoon Experience uses light, frequency, and music. And I was just talking to, I had a guest on a few weeks ago, awesome guy, John Chavez, his name is, and he's a DMT researcher extraordinaire. And he was talking about some of the experiments that he read about, and like how one of the most effective ways they were able to measure increased levels of DMT and endogenous DMT in the brain was through the use of music, frequency, and light. So the more elements you brought in, the more DMT was produced endogenously in the mind. So it's just amazing. Of course, it's no coincidence that you guys have put that into your Cocoon Experience. I think it's fantastic. I want to try it out.
I can't wait to get you into one. I mean, the whole point of it is to step into it one way and then come out of it just a little bit better, a little bit different. Keep going. It's actually, I think very, very similar to, a yoga class or a cycling class, or, going to the gym and working out. Like there is, you have an energy body. And one of the reasons why acupuncture is so powerful is because the Chinese and Japanese cultures understood very well the meridian lines, which we have, and the point of your energy body is to actually produce life force. Mm-hmm. And so life force, if you have, the less energy you have, the less life force you have, the less life you can enjoy. And so this is why the high vibe lifestyle is really what I'm all about. Getting people to get into, eating better. I became a vegetarian like 4 years ago. Really thankful I did.
Nice, man. I'm getting there.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I was a flexitarian, which is sounds like you are, for about 8 years before that, which is eating like 80 to 90% plant.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, just crushing a burger, which I do miss doing. But now with some of these plant-based meats, I'm not remiss.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm just much more habitual about it. But really, what I'm really kind of hard fast about is organic, and even if I'm going to eat beef, then it's like we made a pork for Thanksgiving instead of the turkey. I don't even like turkey, but my wife makes this amazing pork, and she like marinates it, and we got pasture raised, grass fed, free ranging, organic pork, and it was so good. I mean, it was fantastic, but if I'm going to eat meat, it's going to be all those things now anyway. So, but I am still making the transition over to being a vegetarian.
Have you gone like for a week or 2 weeks? I mean, there's something that happens at 45 days that if you put zero, meat, and I'm not talking about being vegans. I love vegan people just because I think they're crazy.
Yeah, I have some vegan friends.
Like my eggs. I'm not big on cheese, but I love my eggs. That's where I get most of my protein.
Yeah.
And so, being a vegetarian, there's so many different options and choices.
Yeah, there is. I've gone a week. It's the most I've gone is a week.
But after 45 days is when your body actually shuts down some of the enzymes that it normally produce in anticipation of meat. So if your body gets used to like eating meat once a week, it's still going to produce those enzymes. And until you actually allow your body to shift to less enzymes for that, and your body's conditioned to just process, simpler things.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Then your body chemistry changes, and
that's when you start to really reap the benefits, I bet.
Oh, it's really cool. Like, I mean, I'm not saying like it like all, health and wellness today to me is like stacking dimes. Any one thing is not going to be like, oh my God, it's the thing that changed everything. I mean, okay, there might be one or two things like that, but but I'm just saying, like, I'd rather look at everything like it has its purpose, it has its value, and I'm stacking dimes to get my vibration higher and higher. Mm-hmm. My health and wellness and happiness dialed in, and so it's I think because of what we're all going through, it's a profound concern for everyone, immunity to just mental health, and so a little sidebar again, the Cocoon. So I have some friends that have a 5-year-old, and absolutely adorable, and they. I shared with them that they can use the Cocoon as a way to help train, teach, and discipline their daughter. And they were like, well, what are you talking about? I said, well, do you ever give her a timeout? And they're like, yeah, every once in a while we need to give her a timeout, and like all kids. And I was like, well, now that you have a Cocoon, you can give her a vibe out instead.
Oh man.
So when if you have like in these modalities work really, really well for ADHD kids, but instead
I got one of those. Yeah.
Punishing them, you'd say, okay, I want you to sit, vibrate, and it's fun for them. And you're like, this isn't a punishment. And you're like, no, it's not. But when you get done with this session, I want you to tell me what was wrong, what you did, how can you do it better. And I want you to, and that's when, and all of a sudden they just have no choice but to lay there. Energy, because what you're dealing with is frenetic energy that doesn't have alignment with itself.
Yeah.
Much of it doesn't know where to go. And therefore it just gets like, you know what I mean? So this really does, and you know, not to compare kids to people with drug problems, but difficult, you know, people that have drug problems, they have an itch to use, or they're acting out these modalities in, you know, detox rehabs. I've got some clients that have them in their detox rehabs in California, and it's amazing because it actually, like, people just go, hey, I would love to just go lay down and I think for seconds I'm feeling not good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm imagining all this, and I have a 9-year-old who is, well, he's a high candidate for ADHD. He's, you know, if you were going to diagnose him, he would be diagnosed. But you know, I haven't had him officially diagnosed because I'm not about to put him on any kind of medication. And this, you know, he goes to a school. He has some learning differences. So, but one of his challenges is his, you know, he's all over the place. But we don't practice punishment in my house. There are consequences, but there's no, you know, punishment is.
Punishment has a negative polarity edge to it, whereas discipline, learning, and consequences are basically like, okay, well, there's love with this consequence as it comes to you.
That's so, right.
While I don't like it, I love you, but guess what? You're going to have to suffer your own consequences. So,
right. I mean, and consequences are a direct result of, you know, something that they need to learn that they can't do. You know, whereas punishment is, well, now you're gonna, you know, it's, I don't know. There's just there's a little difference there, but I feel like it's a big difference in the way that they understand life and then how they go about raising their children. You know, and
I think it's a big difference. Love your anger. Love their anger.
Yeah.
I'm done. You know.
You know, and I was punished, and there was a lot of discipline and punishment going on in my house, and so, you know, I know the pros and cons of both. So, well,
let me tell you, just as a little plug for my good friends at In Harmony, they just came out with this new cushion, and it's like super cool. It's essentially, it's a circle about 3 feet diameter, and it is designed to put you in a perfect lotus position and gives you a great posture. And your feet go into the cushion as a cross-legged, so it's super comfy. And it's powered with an amp built in, speakers, but this item is with this particular product they're just now starting to ship, is only $6.99, as opposed to some of the other the Cocoon and some of the other products are up in the thousands, like, you know, for $4,500.
Wow.
So, but so for kids, you know, or in the home, all these particular products work great, but you know, if you were to have, you know, sometimes kids just need to sit. It's like magic. To watch kids enjoy the vibration, totally disconnected. It's like a reset. You know, you flip a dog on its back. Yeah. This is like a reset. It really is.
Cool. So, you know, I love the mission, man. You know, I'm not gonna lie about it. People who know me and hear this would know I was lying if I said I didn't love the mission. You know, it's a fantastic, noble life's work. So that's fantastic. Tell me a little bit more about the High Vibe Temple and what you're doing with that.
Yeah, so the High Vibe Temple is a immersive collective group experience, vibratory experience. And so, you know, I actually had this, I was, you know, one evening I had a friend of mine who was in the Cocoon, and I was sitting next to him on the couch holding space, and you know, I decided to close my eyes and go, you know, just kind of vibe into my own space. And what I didn't realize until I did realize it is that the vibration from the vibroacoustic lounge was going through the floor, through into the couch, up into me. So I was getting, you know, I wasn't getting the full blast, but you know, when you have, it's the same frequency, it's the same, you know, countenance, it's the same beats and measures. So all of these, so all of a sudden I had a pretty profound, you know, experience not being in the Cocoon, you know. And I said to myself, well, there's definitely a, you know, a group experience here, and something that we can explore that you know, if you've been, which I believe you have, you've done, you know, plant medicine, circles, ceremony, there's a lot of quantum entanglement there, like tremendous amount of quantum entanglement happens. And group dynamics, group meditations have this entanglement, and you know, have these interplays between all the energies, especially if they're aligned in you know, intent and mission in that moment. So so I was like, hey man, this could be really cool. And my friends in Las Vegas, Area 15, area15.com, super dope, incredible, amazing. This place is over 200,000 square feet of immersive group experiences. And it's, you know, kind of like an adult playground in terms of the art, the installations that are interactive, immersive. There's just so much to take in, and it's just a different type of experience. And they bring in a lot of different brands like Meow Wolf. If you've heard of Meow Wolf, they're going to open up there in like January or February. They've got like 50,000 square feet just for their own experience. So, you know, we're in talks with them about adding the High Vibe Temple experience to their lineup, which we would be just delighted to be part of their.
Dude, that sounds incredible, man. That sounds so cool.
Yeah, it really does. And so, you know, we're creating the High Vibe Temple to be something more than just the experience. There's a bunch of ancillary businesses that creates more of a trusted portal, a brand, a hub for alternative type products and remedies, medicines, modalities. So, you know, people that are interested in, you know, having a different way to solve their you know, their health and wellness issues, and also just want to plug into a community that's looking at themselves a little differently, and looking at immunity as a key component to, you know,
yeah,
living well and living without fear of disease, etc. But the High Vibe Temple is really an embodiment. Think of it like back in the 80s. I don't know when you started eating organically or started getting dialed into eating organically, but I was kind of like not the super early adopters. I was not necessarily the earlier adopters. I was right there at the end of the early adopters, where I was like, yeah, I don't want to eat. I don't want to eat that. You know, I don't want to eat that, and I want to put that in my body. So right around that time, when it started getting more prevalent here in Austin, you know, Whole Foods was started. Mm-hmm. So Whole Foods really galvanized and brought organic foods and what are you putting in your body as a central question for people when they go food shopping and eat out at restaurants. Is this good for me? And Whole Foods was like, hey, we basically don't have any of these types of things in our foods, and they're whole. And so in a similar way, High Vibe Temple, I believe now that we've come thus far, and like everyone knows the difference between organic and not, right?
Well, I think
In
most
terms
people do
of,
these days. Yeah.
knowing, like at the grocery store, I can get these bananas which are more expensive, these which are cheaper, right? Okay, so
Right.
you know, organic is more expensive for a reason, and it's because of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
My point is that the consciousness level of the general population has reached that point. That's why Whole Foods is a multi-billion-dollar company and has done such an amazing job of bringing these foods to us. But similarly to that, High Vibe Temple is poised right now to take advantage of this next jump in consciousness, which is meditation, which is yoga, which are sound baths, which are all these things that are starting to be the early adopters. Been there. These people have already, they're there. But right now we're at the breadth of like a lot of adoption. People seeing that, consciousness and these different experiences that can be very, very beneficial and very, very powerful for people.
And there's so many of them out there. I mean, did you see? I'm sure you saw Thrive 1 when it came out. It's still on YouTube, believe it or not. It came out about 8 years ago. It's called Thrive, and then part 2 came out recently. I don't know if you caught Thrive 2. You would love Thrive 2 if you haven't seen it.
I'm not even sure I've seen Thrive 1. I think I have, though, but I'm...
So Thrive 1 is on YouTube, and that's pretty much a rundown of all the systems in place, which you'll probably already be acutely aware of, although I was surprised at some of the information in there because they really kind of uncovered some stuff that even I had never heard of in all my digging and rabbit hole spelunking.
Rabbit hole spelunking. I do that sport all too well.
Yeah. But Thrive 2 focuses more on all these different healing modalities that are happening all around the world. Some of them, really right up your alley, man. You gotta check it out.
Definitely. I'm going to reinvestigate and I'll take a look at Thrive 2 for sure.
Yeah, you'll dig. Excellent, man. I want to go to Vegas. This whole place sounds fascinating, but the High Vibe Temple that, they are going to be. So are you, is it in the works? Is it like, where are you at with it specifically?
We're in architectural drawings and getting our game together in terms of our total vision, budgeting, and we've done a lot of discussion with Area 15, and we're essentially painting the picture so that it feels really good to both sides and then feels right to the overall business. And so we're still painting that picture in a little bit more and more, but they really actually pressed me to go down this health and wellness because they were doing yoga and other like sound baths and other things in these rooms that weren't designed for such a type of energy and type of environment. Yeah. Because it's set and setting, creating the container.
All set and setting. Yeah.
And that container is that you create is needs to be respected and powerful. So they were like, well, if you expand this, we can put everything that we have in this, this category over here outside. And so we're doing something pretty unique. We're building a geodesic dome that has an equilateral pyramid poking out of the top of it. So imagine the dome goes like that. And right here is the pyramid, and the capstone is going to stick out of the top. And I think we were talking earlier a little bit, but I don't think I gave you the full-blown expression. But that shape is, if you look at Metatron's cube, which is a sacred geometric shape, one of the most sacred and coolest ones I love because I'm very much into sacred geometry and how actually these shapes proliferate in our our everyday living. That it's part of our holographic makeup, the makeup of this holographic experience. So, but anyway, so the whole Metatron's cube, that's the top 11% of it, and then the rest of it will be energetically blessed into place and anchored.
Nice.
With Metatron's cube. So yeah, I'm really really I'm really stoked about the project. And Area 15, they're like I've never seen anything like it. I think it would be a smash. So we're going to be doing a lot of different things there, but it'll be driven by membership as well as people coming in just to experience Area 15.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, you're gonna have this. You're gonna have to facilitate retreats. I mean, some kind of retreats. I mean, at least bring in people who are on retreats for a day or 2 days, and just to
Yeah, well, the High Vibe Temple is bookable at an hour at a time. If there's there'll be ways where we can actually invite different practitioners in who want to actually, like, as an example, let's say you're a yoga teacher and you kind of go, hey, out of all my clients, does anybody want to go do high vibe yoga?
Yeah.
What's that? Well, it's essentially one big platform that is vibrating with resonatory frequencies that is designed to go with the yoga that we're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And yoga is not a sport. It's not not even an exercise. It's a meditative poses that, as you hold them, becomes very very
slip into
energy. But it's designed to be a physical meditative state, and to actually detach from yourself and holding that position. But at any rate, I digress.
Right.
But those are going to be things that we're going to be able to do with the High Vibe Temple, allowing people to have like sound baths. Sound bath is usually a collection of shamanic type instruments, flutes, drums, skin drums, gongs, crystal bowls. So all these things are shamanic instruments that are all tuned to those frequencies I was talking about. And when I talk to somebody who's like, well, what is this? What is this cocoon thing? And I go, well, have you ever been in a sound bath?
So what the hell is a sound bath? They'll probably say.
Well, so, if I know that these types of people are going to be like, yeah, I've been to a sound bath. And I'm like, well, have you ever had them put the bowl on your chest?
Yeah.
And then ring it or play it. And, some people say yes. And I'm like, well, that's what it's like. It's like having 4 bowls, putting perfect frequency like that into your body for like 11, 22 or 33 minutes at a time.
So for people who don't know what a sound bath is and who may be listening and be like, you know what, I always wanted to check that out. Basically, what you just said sums it up. Did you miss anything? I've never done a sound bath.
Really?
No, I've seen them done, and I intend to do one. I don't know how I've managed to avoid them thus far.
How did you manage to avoid them?
They are pretty popular among this people I run with, but I gotta check it out.
Well, see, this is like part of what's going to be at the High Vibe Temple are going to be these pods for live musicians to play.
Oh, cool.
And so we're going to mic those instruments, and it's going to go to a mixing board where we're going to mix in the experience. So when this this bowl is singing over here, that's being mic'd, and we're going to pump that frequency into the each of the people lying on the floor. And then the 10 cycle holographic music is going to be playing, and it will be this. Like, I would, when Dolby THX came out, I was fascinated, right? I think we are. And so this place is going to be like a playground for me, but being able to swirl, sounds that are playing and that are live instrument, and being able to feel the music, right?
Yeah.
Feel the instrument like right into your body. Not only that, but feel the intention of the person playing it.
Yeah.
Right? There's live intention in going into that instrument from that person, which is going to be directly like put into your body. So
you're going to have to bring a team of scientists to measure like everything that's happening with all of this stuff. I mean, in general, so when you guys get set up and you're doing your thing and people are like, oh my God, and then I got home and then this happened, and I just have this feeling that you're going to be getting like these awesome reports from people when they go back into their lives, or right there on the spot, and there's going to be some profound things happening. So you're going to have to bring in the scientists to start measuring everything, because I have a feeling that there's going to be some amazing discoveries that happen in this laboratory. Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that. I'm 100% on point with that. As a matter of fact, are you familiar with what an HRV is?
Oh yes, of course. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the HeartMath Institute.
Great. Yeah, cool. So Patrick at BrainTap, Dr. Porter, he blessed me with this HRV unit monitor, and it clips onto you, and what it does is it takes a total read of your energy body from your heart rate variability, and this really bright group of Russians created software that interpolates these signals that the unit's picking up. And what's amazing is there's a dashboard of your energy body in this report that comes back after doing 300 heartbeats. You get to see, like, as an example, not only do you get like some roll-up scores in the dashboard, which makes it really cool, but you actually, if you were an acupuncturist with all these meridians and all these, energy groups, that are tied to, your organs, tied to everything in your body, right? This particular report would show you where, as an acupuncturist, you would need to focus on because your energy is off, or you need to transfer it, or there's too much of it in one area. Okay. So it's really, really pretty cool. So the reason why I was bringing this up in detail is because we want to add this service to our memberships, where people are able to do a biomarker before they go in.
Oh yeah.
A biomarker when they come out, and then it becomes part of their energetic body's dashboard, right?
Right. Then you can really track progress. Then you can really see. Yeah.
Yeah, or at least your energy body is in constant flux. It's not like you bench, if you can bench press 300 pounds, that's a marker, a max marker. This is not that. Like, some days you just had the shit knocked out of you. Right. Your energy body is terrible, and we all know what it feels like, but sometimes you don't realize that. Like, even when you actually are coping, energy body is in the dump, and because we're able to cope and just grin our way through most of this stuff, we don't really love on ourselves and take a second out and go, you know what, I need to actually do these things for me and get my energy body back. Yeah. Myself in a better place, rejuvenate, right? And that's why, we age, accelerated age, is because we are so focused on that low vibe kind of like, focus. Yeah. And then we judge ourselves for it, and then we have all these habits that we form growing up, but I noticed the consistency of them, and some of my friends who are, really kind of going through an awakening themselves right now, and realizing that the way that they think and the way that they feel, their relationships have been kind of crumbling, and they're starting to see the correlation between their programmed thoughts about their life and what's showing up in it. And so, getting them to kind of slow down enough and then be, look, I was talking to my buddy the other day, and he's like, he was just sad and lonely, and, he's going through a bit where he's, he had his baby's mama, and he has a young child, and he's had to create a degree of separation with them because of the relationship that he had with her is no longer there, and loves his son, obviously loves his son with all his heart, and I'm like, dude, give yourself a day to grieve, like this. So you spent a few years living with your son and your girlfriend, I was like, and that's not happening anymore. Now you're waiting for the weekends to see your son, and have you given yourself a chance to actually grieve and allow those feelings, instead of just trying to, smoke them away, gamble them away, whatever it is we do. And,
the answer was he really hadn't. And so I was like, so don't judge yourself for those emotions. Just allow them, and then they're going to go away in a way that's productive for you and not toxic. You're not going to end up, it's just storing them, because we know they get stuck in the body, and we know what that can lead to. I mean, we talk about it,
Yeah. I mean, everything to cancer. I mean, that's really, the cells, when you look at cells that are, have cancer, and you look at their frequency, you take a reading on their frequency it's like chaotic, and it's entropic, and there's entropy everywhere, and it's not organized. And the frequency is not resonatory. But when you look at a healthy cell, it's organized, it's flush, it's actually, its cellular structure is organized and geometric and is aligned. And so, there's a lot to be said for this, it's like a chiropractor who aligns and cracks your bones and gets your body in alignment. You have to get, your energy body gets more whacked off, because it just has so much more sensitivities and so many different inputs, that it's the same practice that I'm suggesting is chiropractic in nature. This is energetic, which is, I think, what Reiki masters do.
Yeah.
And they are really good at. But, this, is something that is technology, which can get you to those same places. And part of the vibroacoustic sound lounge, or vibroacoustic as a technology, a therapeutic technology, is that it's really, really good for decompressing the spinal cord. Because what happens is that as your entire body is vibrating to, remember, the resonatory frequencies, and when something resonates, it doesn't just like make a sound. Everything vibrates and shakes. Right? When it's not resonatory, it's just kind of like this. But when it's really nice. So when the body's in complete alignment, it's going to feel a lot better, and you're also going to forget that pain. Like if you have a pain in your elbow, because you're like, wow, my arm is vibrating the same as my left foot. Okay, well, that unity is almost it's a disperser of that pain program, right? Which is a focal point at the moment. So it's not about you go in there with a tennis elbow and you come out and you can go whack a ball. I'm just saying
I'm cured.
Part of your therapeutic journey to get yourself back, and also to not actually overstress before, it's preventative, is to use the cocoon. I have several high performance professional athletes that UFC champs that actually use this product.
Nice.
And they use it because what happens is that they go through super intense training for an hour to 2 hours or longer. And then right when they get done, they lie in the cocoon and they essentially get their body to recover significantly faster. And lots of people will fall asleep in the cocoon. And when you're meditating, you don't want to fall asleep. But in this, because involuntary, brain entrainment, exactly. Because we have involuntary brain entrainment, then that means that you can be unconscious and still get the profit value from it. And it just means that your body is super comfy and you feel secure and everything's great. And so you're out like
rest and repair. I mean, it's like
right.
That's so. Where can I'm thinking right now. So if I wanted to do the Cocoon Experience, I'm here in New York City at the moment. Where would I have to go in order to do it right now?
In New York City, you're in luck, because I have a couple of really amazing practitioners who would love, and you're going to love them. I'm going to introduce you to them.
Cool.
Your friends of mine actually have just become completely lit, totally on fire. Because, and when I say this, I mean, I call regularly and they're like, yeah, we've got 4 more people coming over tonight. And this is like a Tuesday. And then like Wednesday, it's like, yeah, we got 8 people coming over for dinner and to do the cocoon. Because it's for them, it's like it's like when you're on the playa and you essentially are like, oh, you're such a virgin, man. I can't wait to like I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
get out there and to take a virgin to anything, but especially the playa is to see them that first light spark, where they're just like, wow.
Yeah,
Right?
man.
So this kind of thing has been,
That's a Burning Man reference, everyone. He's talking about, that's what we call people who it's their first experience at Burning Man. We call them virgins.
Yes. In this day and age, be clear that this is a Burning Man reference. If you're a virgin, it means you've just never been before, and it's an honor to be with somebody who's never been, because in those moments you're experiencing what you've either taken for granted, or you get to live through that energy of the first time, which is beautiful. And there's so many moments that to watch people go through that are just bring total joy. That's why you want to bring somebody that's never been a couple times, because you passed along. So
it's great. Yeah, man. So awesome, man. I'm going to definitely get that information from you, because it sounds.
Well, I'm going to hook you up with those people, and there's a growing list of practitioners, and so there's two things. One, the Sound Lounge made by In Harmony. Iaminharmony.com. These folks have been around for 5, 6, 7 years. They make an incredible product. Again, braintap.com. I simply put these two platforms together and started using them. But the big difference came when we actually started making our own content. What I realized is I was like, this has to be fully synchronized and fully working as one. Because I was getting incredible results when they were just like, I was just harmonizing them like a DJ would harmonize between the tracks. Not necessarily, between the vibration and the light and sound. But when I actually got them synchronized and we had the content created just for, the Cocoon Experience, it was like super lift off, right? And so that's what we've been really excited about. So you can buy the components individually from either one of the companies, or you guys can reach out to me and I'll give you my
cool. Let's go far out a little, shall we? Let's we were talking. We started to talk a little bit about extraterrestrials, and I don't really like the word aliens, honestly.
I couldn't agree more. That's one of the first things I actually I help people understand, that they're not aliens. They're star brothers and sisters.
That's
they're more alien than you are or I am to you. And, quite literally, these are third density beings that are we're just at a different conscious evolutionary.
Right. And if you could quickly, for people who are like, what do you mean when you say density? What's up with that word? What are you trying to say?
This is actually another thing that a lot of people get confused, and I was really confused about it until I learned a little bit more about it. But there's this notion of dimensions and densities, right? And so a dimension is like the third dimension. A lot of people get confused, like height, width, length. No, it's not dimensions.
That's a different kind of dimension, yeah.
Right. The dimension is a range of light and sound frequency that's defined in its frequency range. And what's interesting is that there's 8 octaves, or excuse me, there's 8 notes in an octave. So, essentially dimensions work similar to the keys on a keyboard. There's a range of frequency. When you hit the A, it goes one, right? And the range of that frequency is right there. Everyone's seen what a sound wave looks like nowadays. So that's the frequency range. We live in the third dimension as third density beings. What this means is that the dimension itself ranges from, like, how we can see our light spectrum it's pretty, like, it's like this, but we can only see with our human eyes this much of the full spectrum, right? So this is the same thing, is that we live in the third dimension, which is a frequency range of this, and our density is on some plane between the lower and the higher end of that density. So again, this is why I talk about the high vibe lifestyle, because if you are living low vibe and third density, you're more closer to this side.
Mm-hmm.
As your density becomes higher, you start moving to the higher end of that range, where the next note is starting. Right, the next note up is another frequency range,
Right,
where the density of our consciousness, which is what we refer to in consciousness, is the density of the consciousness, which is low frequency, low vibe things go like this. High density, high frequency things go like this. So when we talk about second density beings like dogs and cats living in the third dimension, it means that their second density consciousness.
That's right.
And they're lower in the lower end of over here, where when we're born, we're here, and then we hopefully move up, right?
Right.
Born, they're down here, and pretty much they just stay there because they come out. I would imagine, animals are just have direct connection to source.
I mean, that's their chosen.
Yeah, that's their chosen form, right?
Right. Yeah, and they're so present. They're a model of presence. That's why to get out and observe nature, and if you have a pet, I could watch my dog sniff the streets for hours, because she is so present. Especially when she's onto something. It's the most fascinating. Like I just get this. I must look like a complete maniac. I just get this big smile on my face, and I just let her sniff everywhere she wants to go. And I follow her around because it's just so. There's something so engrossing about that perfect presence, And I think animals they're just such a model for that kind of presence. That's the amazing part of that. One of the many amazing parts of their existence here with us, and here we are. We have this consciousness that is, sentient, and it's multidimensional, and and we're in this third density body with these third density brains, right? And so there's this crazy marriage that's happening, and I think that's why humanity runs into so much confusion and all the emotions that we have. We have a lot going on, and we have it going on in this body, right? So I appreciate the explanation for it. I'm trying to lend a little more context.
Yeah, absolutely. So the notion of you ever look at a dog and just be around a dog and you're like, that dog is smart as fuck, man.
Yeah, man.
That dog is so conscious to me. And then you look at other dogs and they're just do, like got nothing going on, right? Yeah. And that's the same with people, man. Some people don't seem like they got a whole lot going on. Some people got a lot going on. Mm-hmm. And it's because of the awareness. But if you look at these dogs, like I believe, my family's dog, he literally will sit down 3 feet from the TV and watch on the television the dialogue.
Yeah.
And when there's a horse or when there's other animals, he is so, he's so into it that you can just tell when a dog has a lot of consciousness going on. And so what I believe is that dog's vibration has reached a level at which that dog will carry over into the third density from second density into third density consciousness into a third density, earth suit.
Yeah.
So their second density earth suit is being an animal, but and then when you take it down a step further, things like rocks and minerals and crystals are first density beings, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not because a being doesn't mean that they're sentient or they've got motion, but because they're part of the construct of source. Right. This construct for this space, they're connected to source consciousness, but they are inanimate and they're very simplistic, and relative to us, but they are aware and conscious. Like there's a consciousness of that. At one time, we probably all spent time being some crystals.
Right, and they may appear inanimate because we are gazing at them through this physical apparatus. But if you could see that rock, if you could really see what was happening inside that rock, you would see that it is the furthest thing from inanimate. I mean, there are there are electrons and protons, and I mean, there are things moving at the speed of light inside that rock. We just can't see it. And that the truth is, it's like that for everything that we look at. But the rock is perfect because it's, you know, it's so still. It's the symbol of stillness. And yet, if you could peer, you know, into the atoms of that rock, you would see this. You would see the whole universe in motion because it's all there. And it's like that with people. It's like that with everything too. If only we could see, you know, and some people can, you know, and that's another amazing benefit of meditation and coming into alignment with yourself and really realizing that you are gifted with this multidimensional consciousness that gives you the ability to do things that you've only seen and heard about in movies. But if you don't believe that you can do those things, how are you going to experience them? You know, like I keep telling people, like, if you can't believe it, how are you ever going to experience it? You know, let alone be the participant, the conscious participant in it, you know, whatever you're talking about. And I love jumping over those hurdles, you know, in my personal life and, you know, experimenting with them and playing with them and having fun with them. And, you know, it's just, it's always a good time, you know? Yeah. And I have a feeling you do too. And I love what you said about dogs, dude. You know, I look at my dog and I'm like, humans are going to evolve dog. We are evolving dogs. We literally evolve dogs, you know, but I just have this crazy vision. I never even told anyone. But I'm like, dude, one day we're going to be like in a UFO. We're going to be like going in and out of, you know, a third dimension on some planet. And it's these dogs, these that are bipedal now and have this crazy society with cities and fight because they're different breeds and all, you know, and we're going to be trying to get them to realize the secret of it all the way that some of our friends, you know.
Yeah. So I'd like to share with you something that you're speaking to, which is how consciousness metamorphosizes, right? How it transforms and transitions to its next evolution. And so, you know, while we've been talking about, you know, first density, second density, third density beings, you know, which makes up this third dimension that we're in, you know, the reality is that really conscious dog, when it passes on, if it's reached its own qualifications and has learned everything from what it needs to learn from being a dog and enjoyed it, whatever, then that consciousness based on, you know, spirit is going to ascend and evolve into its next density. And that would be, that could be anything. It doesn't have to be human. It could be a different type of star people, or, you know, remember, extraterrestrials and the star family are just the same as us. They're third density beings, but their density is a lot higher, usually because they're more advanced. And so, you know, they're waiting to make their transition, right?
That's right. All the way up. I mean, you know, they're just like us in regards to the fact that they don't look at us as less than because of where we are in our evolution. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
But some of them are, you know, go ahead. You continue.
So basically, as you know, you think about the ascension or the evolution of humanity, and we are thinking about like how we progress from this point A, caterpillar, to this point B, butterfly. You know, there's a process, and this metamorphosis is all about, you know, as we move. You know, I'm into different things, different knowledge bases. One of them is the Law of One, and which was a series of channelings in the 80s and 90s, which were profound and significant, and they came from a sixth density being named Ra, not the same Ra as the Egyptian Ra, the sun god, but a very different complex, a social mind complex is what they call themselves, which is kind of like a hive mind in sixth density. But if you can imagine, the dog moves from second to third, and then somebody who is 51% in service to others will then move to fourth density, right? And moving into that fourth density is how we go into our light bodies, right? And we become the angels who are, and just as we looked out after the dog, what do we do with the dog? You feed it, you love on it, you train it, you take care of it, you protect it, you let it be its own dog, you take pictures of it. Everything you do is just like what the angels do. Those beings who are not of this vibratory environment are designed to take care of us. And we will do the same thing as our evolution brings us to our light bodies. It'll be our job as part of our training and learning to care for third dimensional beings we can't touch, and we can't mess with their free will, and we can't do all this shit. And it's like, okay, that's a puzzle piece all on its own, right? So Source has this beautiful ladder of consciousness that is all based on love. And once you reach beyond, fourth density and go into the fourth dimension, which is unity, which is returning, the drop returns to the ocean and the ocean returns to the drop. That's where we become, a higher density consciousness that gives ourselves that we're working towards, right? And we're all on a different part of the wheel. There's anyone better, greater, lesser. It's like every day, even the Dalai Lama has to stand at the foot of his own abyss and be like, I need to take a step into my own darkness. And go where even the Dalai Lama hasn't gone, right? In order to grow, even the Dalai Lama has to grow. So Dalai Lama is no different than you and me.
Right.
Watching this, it's really all about stepping into, that one step off into your own abyss and be like, okay, go a little further. I
have to read the Law of One. I have it, and I never got into it. And it's interesting what you're saying. I know the concepts well. I've never heard them put quite like that, but very, very similar in structure. And I know exactly what you're saying. It's fascinating stuff. Have you ever seen a UFO? Have you ever, seen or had a dream where you felt intuitively that you were, with some of our interstellar family, or, what's your experience? I mean, have you been abducted, Lin? Tell us the truth. They experiment on you?
Man, I have not had an experience of the fourth, I think Close Encounter of the Fourth Kind is the fourth kind, right? Where, the Close Encounter of the Fifth.
Fifth kind is when you invite them to say hi, and they come and say hi.
Human initiated. I have seen a few objects that I would consider UFO. I also, I also like playing the game on. There's two game boards. There's the game board little G, which is this place, which is the holographic, theater. There's the big game board, big G, which is everything else, and moving into our divinity, right? Because from third density, which we're not supposed to have knowledge of our divinity. We're supposed to come into Bula Rasa, which is a blank slate. And it's because of this that the entire underpinning of this part of the game board, little G, the underpinning is to unravel self, to find your divinity and actually find the unity in your divinity, and that's the growth to enlightenment. There's so many paths to getting there and staying there, and this high vibration in life is really, a path that I don't mark with enlightenment. I mean, to me, enlightenment's like a dimmer switch, and everybody's got it. It's like, oh, okay, you were pretty much lit, and then today, in the last week, you turn the dimmer down, and you're like, right. You have to be lit all the time. And that doesn't mean being high energy. Let's go.
People mistake that for the state of ecstasy when ecstasy is more knowing that state is always, through the next emotion. It's always through the next presence, Right. I think. Yeah.
No, exactly. And that is exactly where that high vibe lifestyle, plays in, because it's starting to, as you're moving from the bottom end of our note, within the octave, the bottom end of our dimension, and moving yourself up in consciousness to where you're right at that point where you can then, you've learned all your lessons, you've done the things you needed to do, then it's time to transition. Then that's great. And then everybody else that's not making that leap is essentially no better different than you are. They're just in a different part of the wheel, different part of the process. So, a lot of people, I have a lot of people I've met that have been, a little bit on the egotistical side about, that they're connected, or that they, they're a great shaman, or, whatever. And it's, a bit of the ego run. And the reality is that, no, man, for as much as you push people off into their, their darkness and their abyss, how deep have you jumped?
Right.
How far have you gone? The people that I know that have done the work just realize that, I just know there's an infinite number of doors I can open
that's right.
More of the shadow me, the shadow self, or the depth of the truth of something that's, maybe uncomfortable. It's doing the work, right?
Yeah, man. And Dr. Joe, one of my favorite guys on the planet, Dr. Joe Dispenza, always says, why would I build up my ego just one day? Why would I, because the guy has a lot of people saying a lot of very kind things about him, because that's the life he's living, and that's what he's in service of others. But, the moment they do, he's like, I don't want to talk about me, and we're like, come on, man. We always get on him because we want him to take credit for some of the amazing things that he's created. But, he says, why would I build my ego up? Because when I close my eyes and I get still the following day, and then I got to come up against that. So I don't want it to build at all. I just don't, it's just another fight for me to have tomorrow when it comes time for me to find quiet and be still and close my eyes, and go within. Yeah. So I always love it that he says that, the
egoic structure and the construct of the ego, which, and I do a lot of work in this area with some people I coach and work with, because high performance athletes and high performing business people, they all have this egoic construct that is built on a number of different, very radically different personas. Like, the ego is basically schizophrenic. It's schizophrenic, dynamic to it, which means that there's a radical difference and, color between all these different personalities. As an example, the person that you have to be, and the ego is not just being like, I'm a badass. It's literally your identity, or construct in a particular moment with a particular set of people. So as a mother, your ego construct is of the archetype being a mother. When you go to work, you're the you're marketing executive. Working with those people, your egoic structure, the one that plays ball in that field, is different than the one that plays ball as a mother, right? So, But the point is that the egoic structure is, people don't understand it, because when people become successful in the material world, 9 times out of 10 is because they put every bit of their ego out into the world to accomplish something that is, meaningful and beyond self, which is what ego is designed to do. It's designed to go beyond self in a moment, to show, ego is best when you're like, hey, ego, show me courage right now. Okay, courage, boom, thank you. Now ego says, stand behind me. I've got it now. And then, but because the people that succeed often, because they learn we're monkey brains. We learn a process that works. We repeat it, breaks. Yeah. And because I succeeded with that person, that deal, that, my ego is the one that's been out there doing that, because I can't do that. That's not really me. I mean, really me is me, chilling on a beach painting. Mm-hmm. But because I need to make money, I need this egoic structure to come out. But there's so many different personalities in this structure that the person, that Lin lives behind, and it's when you can drop those archetypes, those egoic structures in these different scenarios, where I find that is actually being able to translate the most amount of light.
Yeah.
So you just let go of all of your archetypical bullshit, and you can hone in on just the essence of you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man. And it's a process, it doesn't, especially if you're very orientated, I guess is the word, in the physical, which is part of the ego's job is to keep us, to keep you rooted in this identity so that you know who you are, where you stand, what your balances are. That's part of the ego's job. That's why we have it, right? But we over-identify with the ego, and that's where we get in trouble sometimes, I think, in our life, is when we become too caught up in, well, I gotta make this sale. If I don't make the sale, I'm not gonna get this house, or things are gonna crumble in my life, and you start to forget that that's not how reality works. Yeah, that's how you're designing it to work like that, but it doesn't need to work like that, right? When we over-identify with the ego, you're basically over-identifying with the notion that you are your body. And what happens when we do that? There's a lot of problems that can come with that.
Totally. A key issue to not being able to cross over to unity consciousness, to coexistence, because we're caught in this duality dilemma.
Yeah, that's it.
And,
So I got a question for you, my friend.
yes.
This is one of my favorite questions to ask my guests. I don't know if you heard me ask any if you made it to the end of any of the podcasts you watched, but if you did, you heard me ask this question. And so I'm going to hit you with it. I'm excited about your answer. If you were transitioning onto the next dimension, onto the next density, or if you were just going to hightail it out of here on a spaceship, but you had an opportunity to impart, one understanding on the human race. I mean, you could give it to them, like the Matrix. Like I know kung fu. You could literally give it to them in a download. What would you give them that you believe would help them in this life right now?
That's a really cool question. With the added caveat at the end, in this life right now, I would have to say that the lesson would be that there is existence beyond this space, that this is where we're actually the avatars, and that our true selves is a divine fractal representation of source caught up in this earth suit called the human body, and that there's more to us, and right now is the time to open up to that concept and that idea, to start unraveling this mystery called death, which is not true. However, we are flowers. The reason why we love flowers is because they bloom, they're beautiful, and then they die. And they're temporal. Beauty is temporal. That is a principle in our universe that, as Source has created this particular dimension, that temporal things become beautiful. And you can't, there's another principle that I really, really try to share, is that in order to appreciate what it means to be infinite, you first have to understand what it means to be finite. Mm-hmm. And when you appreciate the finite nature of our temporal being, and you actually take every bit of advantage of this little blink of time, which we call time, right, to infinite beings is not even a construct. So this experience that we have, those that take hold of it and start to unravel self and understand the connection to everything else, that becomes a fruitful life that I think is, if I could impart, all of the biohacks, the tips and tricks, and all of the things that lead you up to realizing that you are divine in nature, and that your divinity in this part of the process, in this part of the game, is to hide that divinity from you so that you have to find it, Go search for your divinity, and that it's right there for you. It's right there to be held and to be appreciated. And that the last thing I would think is this, is that alongside of that is to know that this is the movie, right? Boom. This is my movie. Thank you for being part of my movie. But the fact is that the movie has a bunch of lenses, these little lenses in between the actual lens of life and the camera. There's a bunch of these lenses that are like slides. And the more, each one of these lenses is a contortion and a distortion, an illusion, a disillusion. And what the camera is really focused on is pure energy, pure love, light, energy from source. And it's also a reflection of self, because each one of these lenses is like identity, my mask, my archetype, my expectations, what people expect of me. All these things contort pure love. And so if I could, download the matrix and press a button and be like, this is yours now, which I've been pressing this button on myself for as long as I possibly can, to realize like how this all connects, and to get that sense of divinity, man, that sense of taking ownership of yourself, not in an egotistical way, but just realizing that, life is not happening to me. I am life. Like I am, right? As much as I am as I am.
That's right.
I am.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's a great question, man. I love that.
Thanks, man. I'm glad I asked it, because the answer was profound and something I'll be thinking about. Man, it's been awesome, man. I obviously see now why Hunter wanted us to speak. It's really great talking to you, Lin. I'm super excited about everything you got going on, man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm really blessed to feel like I'm in my own flow state. Obviously you are, I can see it. And thank you for, bringing on interesting people and adding your lens to the movie. So I love doing this kind of things and love sharing. So anytime I can help, you let me know.
Awesome, Lin. Thanks, man. I remember you said that, because I'm sure we're going to talk again one day.
Yeah, for definitely sure. And let's go to Vegas and see Area 15.
Dude, I am so there. I'm gonna hit you up. I'll get all your information for sure.
100%.
All right, then. Take care, man. Thanks again. I appreciate everything.
Thank you, buddy.
Take care.